What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr. held his media workout today in promotion of his highly anticipated upcoming showdown with two-division world champion, former junior welterweight unified world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, Danny Swift Garcia. December 5th, this showdown will be taking place. With that said, Errol Spence obviously did interviews after the media workout, and he looked absolutely fabulous in his comeback. There's a lot of intrigue. Everybody wants to see if Errol Spence Jr. is going to be back to his normal self after suffering a horrific car accident just 12 days after unifying his titles, defeating two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime's Shawn Porter. September 28th, October 10th, he suffered that horrific car accident just 12 short days later. With that said, there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of curiosity. But that doesn't take away from the fact that everybody wants to see the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, and that's himself versus undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, is widely considered by everybody in the sport of boxing, pundits, fans, and most media members, as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. With that said, obviously, those questions, when you're interviewing Terence Crawford, who just fought recently last Saturday against former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer Special K, Kell Brook, he defeated Kell Brook in dramatic fashion, knocking him out in the 4th round. But when you put a microphone in front of Terence Crawford's face, the question is going to always be asked about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. They're always going to ask Terence Crawford about Errol Spence. And when you put a microphone in front of Errol Spence, he's always going to be asked about Terence Crawford. They are now linked to each other, whether they like it or not, just like Floyd Money Mayweather was linked to Manny Pacquiao. With that said, he did an interview in which he was asked about facing, Terence Crawford. And yesterday, if you don't know, Errol Spence did an interview on Ak and Barack show on Sirius XM Radio. And they asked him, obviously, about Terence Crawford. And Errol Spence said, Terence Crawford is a great fighter, but he's doing all the heavy lifting, meaning he's fighting the bigger fights, the higher profile fights, and he's doing the bigger numbers on pay-per-view. So he said when this fight is starting to be negotiated, then it's going to have to be a 60-40 split in my favor, which sparked Terence Crawford to respond. And Terence Crawford stated that it must be 60-40 in my favor because I've accomplished far more than he accomplished his little accomplishments in the sport of boxing. If the 60-40 split don't go in my favor, then don't talk about it. Let's not make the fight. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't need Terence, but I don't need Errol Spence for my legacy. A lot of people is attaching him to me. I don't need him. I never did. And at this point in time, excuse me, Terence Crawford is stating that it's kind of got to the point where he could take the fight or he could leave it. So he's citing that it really doesn't matter to him that much anymore. He said it used to matter, but now it doesn't mean that much to him. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. So the reporter on Fight Hub was asking Errol Spence, about those comments Terence Crawford made, and he says Errol Spence had this to say in his response. He stated, "Well, if that's the case, and if he feel that way, tell him to keep my name out his mouth. If he feels like the fight don't need to happen, then let's stop talking. Don't make it happen. If he don't feel like it's necessary, then let's not make it happen. But he can stop mentioning my name. And anyway, he needs to focus on his promoter, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO, Bob Arum, who recently made statements regarding Terence Crawford's lack of star power when Bob Arum stated that Terence Crawford has cost him more money than they have brought in his last 3 fights. So much so that he could buy a mansion. He could have a mansion built in Hollywood, in California, with all the money that they lost. He says that he's not going to go broke trying to re-sign Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford needs to start promoting himself a la Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, Teofimo Lopez, Vasyl Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson. He says he needs to take a page out of their book and start promoting himself. He wants us to do all the promotions. So that sparked a lot of people, to feel like Bob Arum was wrong in that sense. He shouldn't have said that publicly, and shouldn't have said it at all when you have the biggest fighter, the best fighter in the world, and you are the promoter. You are supposed to make sure that he's successful. That sparked UFC CEO and founder, President Dana White to have a lot to say, rip into Bob Arum. That sparked, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom CEO and promoter, rip into him. Floyd Mayweather said he gave Terence Crawford the blueprint to how to get away and build up his own reputation. He should have been a much bigger star by now. And so I'm sure that reached back to Errol Spence Jr. And that's why Errol Spence said, that's a tougher fight. He needs to focus on Bob Arum because that's the biggest fight he got in front of him. That's the fight that's very tough. I don't know how tough it is because me, myself, I never had a promoter. Wow. So Errol Spence is saying, if he feel that way, then let's just step away from him while we talking about it, why you making mention of my name. Now you're going to get people to say, well, he's not mentioning your name, obviously. But then there's people who say that he keeps mentioning Errol Spencer's name because he's calling him out. So there's a lot of confusion there. I think that this is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. I definitely feel like it need to happen. I feel like maybe there's a bit of posturing going on. There's a bit of promoting going on. They're selling the fight at this point in time, if I'm being honest, right? I definitely feel like they both understand the magnitude of this fight. They both understand that they need this fight for their legacy. And they're both, very aware of what this can do for both of their careers. So let's just listen to what Errol Spence had to say regarding this.
At the number one at 147, you two have to fight.
Well, if you're not worried about me, no reason to fight then, right? So tell him to keep my name out of his mouth.
That's still a fight, given the back and forth with him and Bob, and the 60-40 stuff.
That's a tougher fight.
What's a tougher fight?
Him and Bob.
Yeah, that was surprising what Bob said. I was extremely surprised by what he said about him.
Yeah, so that's a tough fight for him.
Obviously.
So you heard what Errol Spence had to say. He said that's a tougher fight for him. Him and Bob is the tougher fight. So he got to worry about getting past Bob Arum. So he said that obviously later on in that he stated that, I never had a promoter, so I don't know. But if he feel like, if he feel that way, if this is not a fight that he needs and he don't need me for this fight, then he could, stop talking about me, stop making mention of me, keep my name out of his mouth. This has grown, obviously, that both of these fighters are going to get, a little frustrated when the other one is being brought up because you get attached to them, right? And so it almost seems that your success and your legacy it hinges on the fight with Terence Crawford if you're Errol Spence. And if you're Terence Crawford, I know Terence Crawford at this point in time is getting frustrated. That's why he states, I don't need Errol Spence, and I never needed Errol Spence for my legacy. I've already accomplished 3 division world champions, and I'm the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. So obviously, every time there's a camera in his face, like I stated, everybody's going to ask Terence Crawford about Errol Spence, and that gets frustrating, right? You can see the frustration when it used to grow on Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Every time they had a fight, the biggest question was, when are you going to fight Manny Pacquiao? What did you think about Manny Pacquiao's last fight? And vice versa. When Floyd Mayweather fought and Manny Pacquiao fought, it was always, when are you going to fight Floyd Mayweather? Did you see Floyd Mayweather's last fight and his last performance? What did you think of this, right? So you get hinged to each other when you have a fight of this magnitude that's brewing. And so that's what's happening in this case. But obviously, Errol Spence feels like, which is true, because combined, he has over 700,000 pay-per-view buys combined, right? Or close to it. And Terence Crawford combined has 210,000 pay-per-views sold in their, if you talk about their respective 2 pay-per-views. Errol Spence fought Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter on pay-per-view. He did 350,000 pay-per-view buys with Mikey Garcia, and he did 325,000 pay-per-view buys with Showtime Sean Porter. So he did a combined 675,000 pay-per-view buys, nearly 700,000 pay-per-view buys. And Terence Crawford did 150,000 pay-per-view buys with Amir Khan, and then it's reported that he did 60,000 pay-per-view buys with Victor Postol. So, and then you have Terence Crawford's last fight with Kell Brook, which is a high-profile fight. He did 2 million free views. It was on free TV. He did 2 million free views. And then Errol Spence on free TV against Leonard Bundu, he did 6 million views. So, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, it's not fair because Errol Spence came on right behind the Olympics, so he had that audience transition right from the Olympic Games to his fight. Well, you got to look. There's no bigger sport in the United States than football, college or NFL. And Terence Crawford had the college football game even overlap his fight, because when the fight started, the college football game was still going. They didn't wait till the game ended until they started to allow the audience to view Terence Crawford fight. So he had that help. He had that audience that transitioned right into his fight as well. So they both had help when you look at it from that aspect. So hopefully, you know, as I believe that they both will find a happy medium, and this fight will get made, and this is just going to build the fight. Both fighters are looking to fight a division world champion, Filipino iconic superstar, legendary boxer who is currently the WBA welterweight world champion, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is now signed to PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, under the advisory of Al Heyman, who's the founder of the PBC. He once was under Top Rank with legendary promoter Bob Arum and Terence Crawford. He was actually looking to make a fight between himself and Terence Crawford, but that went by the wayside when Manny Pacquiao asked for and stood on the square that he felt he wanted $20 million for the fight. Bob Arum said it wasn't worth it. Bob Arum also stated that he was the one who blocked the fight from coming to fruition because Manny Pacquiao is a good friend of his. He didn't want to see him get hurt at an advanced age and at this point in his career. This was about 3 years ago or so. And since then, Manny Pacquiao has left, signed with PBC, and he's got the money he was looking for. He got reported over $15 million to fight Adrian the Problem Broner, who's a 4-division world champion superstar boxer. And then he got a reported $20 million to fight then undefeated unified WBC WBA welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith One-Time Thurman, who had previously lost his WBC title outside the ring due to inactivity due to injuries he suffered, which saw him stripped of the WBC title, which saw Danny Garcia and Sean Porter fight for the vacant WBC title, which Sean Porter defeated Danny Garcia, then Errol Spence defeated Sean Porter for that belt. That's how he became unified. So with that said, they're both looking to secure a showdown with Manny Pacquiao. Bob Arum stated that he had a deal already done and Manny Pacquiao had agreed to fight Terence Crawford November 14th. This past Saturday was supposed to be the fight overseas, but due to the pandemic and social distancing, they could not guarantee that they would allow fans to attend the live sporting event in person. Thus, that means the gate and the revenue and the closed circuits would not be there for the money they needed to pay the purses to both of these fighters, Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford, in a high-profile fight. So thus it went by the wayside, which saw us see Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook. With that said, Errol Spence obviously has a leg up with Manny Pacquiao being on the same quote-unquote side of the street as himself. Manny Pacquiao is reported to want to face 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia in his next fight. Manny Pacquiao has been out the ring now for over a year. The last time he fought is when he fought Keith Thurman, and that was over a year now. That was, let's look at the date for that fight. So Manny Pacquiao is not going to look to get, he fought Keith Thurman in July of 2019. We are in November of 2020, so it's well over a year, and he's not looking to get back in the ring until 2021. So with that said, he's definitely not going to get in the ring with Errol Spencer or Terence Crawford in his very next fight. He said he has interest, according to his team, in Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, but he's looking to fight Mikey Garcia in his next fight. You have 2-time welterweight world champion Showtime Sean Porter, who is Terence Crawford and Errol Spencer's mandatory. He's the WBC #1 challenger, and he's the WBO #1 challenger. But Sean Porter stated that he much would rather fight Terence Crawford in his next fight. He said that Terence Crawford and Team Crawford was lucky he didn't stand outside the MGM when he was fighting Kell Brook and after the fight and let the world know he's his mandatory and he needs to be fighting him next. So, but like I stated, both guys want to secure a fight with Manny Pacquiao, and that would make the winner of that fight, if should Errol Spence or Terence Crawford get Manny Pacquiao and beat him, you know, that would give them a clear cut A-side advantage over the other. Because if Errol Spence beats Manny Pacquiao, he would have done, he's going to do great numbers with Danny Garcia due to the intrigue with him being out the ring and suffering a horrific car accident, and everybody's looking to see how he bounces back if he's the same. And then go into a pay-per-view extravaganza against Manny Pacquiao for 3 belts. And if he beats Manny Pacquiao, he would be the WBA, WBC, and IBF welterweight world champion, thus going into the fight with Terence Crawford as a 3 belt holder and a 2-time unified champion and undefeated, and have done 4 back-to-back. Mikey Garcia pay-per-view, Sean Porter pay-per-view, Danny Garcia pay-per-view, and then Manny Pacquiao pay-per-view. 4 successful pay-per-views back-to-back-to-back-to-back. And the last time Terence Crawford did a pay-per-view was 3 fights ago when he fought Amir Khan. And prior to that, his last pay-per-view was when he was in a whole other division. So, you know, Errol Spence will have a leg to stand on when in an argument there as a clear-cut A-side and make all the demands in his favor, and could call for a 60-40 split. And if Terence Crawford is to land Manny Pacquiao, he obviously would have a leg to stand on, at least an argument to say that this needs to be a 50-50 split, and it's for undisputed at that point in time. So there you have the glamour division and the welterweight division for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing for undisputed. Need I say anymore? Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.